Hey everyone, it's marabelleblue with a new Pathetically Unfiltered. This is a special edition. As you see, my friend Mike is joining me. We are going to have a discussion on Black culture and what we are seeing through our brothers and sisters and how they have been conned, I guess, for lack of a better word, through what we are seeing in our politics today. If you are new here, welcome to this channel. This is called Pathetically Unfiltered, where I do news and reactions. And I also have guests come on to share their experience in life and as well as everything else in between. And if you are not new, welcome back. Before we get started, just as a reminder, please do support this channel. I do have my Cash App and Venmo, and there's a lot of things that I am working on right now with other content creators where they will also be making appearances on this channel. And we are also going to be doing lives on TikTok, although we don't know how long TikTok has time left, and everybody is shifting all of their content over to YouTube. Again, if you are new here, please do subscribe and support this channel. Now, let me go ahead and introduce you to my friend Mike. Mike and I, we have known each other, I want to say since 2002, I think. I was at a different point in my life and I started a lifestyle publication. We're not going to specify what type of publication it was, but it was a very big part of my life. And I wanted to feature people when I was living back in New York City, different lifestyles, different cultures. And this is how I met Mike. He was actually part of the vampire community. So if you want to go ahead and share, what was it like for you back at that time? It was like so long ago. It was a long time ago.
Hey, Maribel. Wow, a really long time. So, yeah, it's been a long time. Wow, a lot of years. So, yeah, I was actively involved in the vampire community in New York City for a long time, working with it from its very inception, from before its inception. One of the old names involved, if remembered at all. I helped with a lot of stuff during that time. I actively worked security during those years, so I was also part of doing security here and there with different events, actively working in the community to try and mitigate certain issues that came up, and just generally hanging out and enjoying myself. It was a fun time. That was the basics of it at that time. You know, I was enjoying myself and kind of moving around in there, being a part of it. That was it.
I was thinking about the time that we met. I think it was at the Pyramid Club, like downstairs in the basement where they would have their meetings at. And I was invited by another member because I was looking to interview people within the vampire community. I think that there was absolutely a misconception of who the vampire community was. And when I started doing interviews, I'm like, these are the most incredibly intelligent people ever. Like, I think what the misconception was, if you dressed a certain way, you were not that intelligent. And the minute that people started speaking, it was on a whole other level I myself was not even aware of.
Yeah, there were a lot of misconceptions about the vampire scene at the time. A chunk of it came from the rapid changes that took place somewhere in the midst of it. It's like when it first formed, it was more insular, very cliquish. There were only certain people involved. But as it expanded out and there became more activity. There were parties, there were houses growing up and being created. More people were coming in. It became a variety of people. So there were issues within and from the outside taking place that could easily change the perception of how the whole vampire community was at the time. We could spend far too much time going over that in particular, just the history of the vampire community and how it developed and what changed and how people were looking at it from both the inside and the outside. There's a whole lot of history there.
Do you think over the years that the politics have really changed people? Like, what significant changes did you begin seeing? I'm going as early as you could remember, because it could be through C19, it could be from 2017 before C19, when the convict went down his gold escalator and made like this big glorious announcement like he was going to save the world. Or were things beginning to change beforehand, because we started to see the neighborhood changing? A lot of things that we had seen in the city, in Manhattan, the gentrification that was going on. Do you think those changes, those changes that began to take place, started to change people and their reactions towards those changes?
It was a weird time in certain things. In the neighborhood I grew up in, it was roughly the same and hadn't really changed much except for the beginnings, the very beginnings of gentrification. But there was a change, there was a slight change that seemed to be, no, from my perspective, the neighborhood pretty much stayed the same. The neighborhood I grew up in was pretty much the same. I think maybe we were seeing the first hints of colonization, so to speak. But beyond that, across the country, what I did notice previous to his grand announcement of coming to save the country from everything and what he was saving it from, well, we all do know. Before that was with his predecessor just making his announcement during his running, and the polarization and the vitriolic responses by people across the country, where it was things that we supposed were not a big issue anymore, were back out at the forefront. And then he showed up to fan those flames with his accusation. And from that point, we were getting back into being a very divided, with polarized opinions and people deciding either you're on my side or you're my enemy, essentially. That's what I noticed.
Getting into a live that I shared with you, Zeus. There's a content creator, his name is Zeus. He does lives in the morning. He actually did one on Saturday, which normally he doesn't do Saturdays, but it's always fun to get that extra lake of fire, if you will. That he has as part of his programming. I shared this live with you because there was a young lady, and we're not going to share it here just for the sake of anonymity purposes. Black lady, she mentioned that she was not a Christian, but that she did believe in religion. She mentioned that she voted Republican without naming names. I guess she was just trying to keep her responses as generic as they could be. At least that was the impression that I had gotten. She has two sons. I believe one is a teenager, the other one was old enough to vote, and he did vote for VP Harris. Clearly, there is a difference of opinion from what she sees and what her son sees, considering that she is a Black woman raising Black boys. We have seen disturbing real life videos of what policemen do to Black men. The one that really got me was the guy from Staten Island. That tore me up because he had his hands up in the air and he was basically surrendering to the police. And they still deleted him, just for safety precautions, because this is YouTube. How does that make you feel when you see this parade of Black and brown people supporting a criminal who was convicted of sexual assault? I just don't understand. There are a lot of times that I sit back and I'm perplexed and I'm confused. Me as a woman, I have mentioned this in my past shows. This is not, Days of Our Lives where a character redeems himself. And then he later on becomes a hero. You understand what I'm saying?
It is weird for me to see Black people fervently supporting the current president. To be honest, I find it weird when people go crazy over any politician at all. But this one in particular, especially with the path that he's walked and the way he's talked and the people he gives a pass to, who actively support him and say that that's their man, they love him to death. And those very same people are the ones who are saying we could do without certain people living in this country or being alive at all. Wow. But the problem is that currently far too many people, and I can definitely say far too many people of color, base their decisions on how they feel and what makes them feel good. They're more focused on their feelings than actual thought process. Now, when someone says stuff that they want to hear, they only focus on what they want to hear. And therein lies the problem. And to top it off, these are the same kind of people who tolerate things within their own communities, within their own homes, within their own families, that they will speak out against when they see it happening among others, but they tolerate it within their own confines on a regular basis. So we have somebody who's a sexual predator in the highest office in the country. That should be an automatic no. But since there are people who are okay with friends and family members of that kind being around in their homes, and what they'll do is they'll tell their kids, you can't dress this way because so and so is coming over. That tells you everything you need to know about how accepting they are beyond. I mean, they see it, it's plain in their face, but they're like, they accept it in their personal life. So they'll accept it in their political life, no problem. It's unfortunate, but yeah, it's sad that that's the way that people think. And they're ignoring all the dog whistles. They're ignoring all the dog barks because it's beyond whistles now. It's straight barking. It's just DMX, woof, 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 just putting it out there in your face. And they're ignoring it because there are things he says that they like hearing that makes them feel good. That's it. They're not thinking. They're not thinking further than what makes them feel good in that moment.
It's quite disturbing, though, when you think about it on a bigger level of disturbance. In my own personal point of view, as a Latin woman who is seeing Latin men. And then part of me feels like, well, Latin men have always been like a dominating personality. They've always been the machismo kind of a man. So I don't know if they're looking at it from a machismo point of view, not realizing that they too are not white. I mean, this is a racial issue. And convict Crump, as I call him, does not like anyone who is outside of his color, even like this. My color is too dark. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that we are not rich. I mean, that's the other part. We don't have money. So we are looked upon as people who are relying on the government when we're not. The new thing is you have people that are now coming on to TikTok lives and calling creators grifters. And I'm like, but you are supporting a grifter. You are literally buying things. Like, what president of the United States sold sneakers, sold watches? You know, when you think about all of these meme coins, I mean, that seems to be the biggest grift of them all. And people are just, I look at it like people are waiting for the big payday. It's kind of like when you're at that slot machine and you're hitting the button, and the more you hit in your mind, because it's gone through my mind, this is going to be it. Here's the seven. Here's the next seven. And then the bar comes down and ruins that whole moment. But if it happened, that third seven will come out. It can happen. And I think people get trapped in a cycle where they think they are going to get a big payday and it's going to happen. They don't know when it's going to happen, but if they hang on long enough, it will come. If they stay faithful enough, it will come. And it's not going to happen. That moment is not going to happen. I hate putting it in the way of, what is that word I'm looking for? Not negative, like pessimistic, I guess. Because I believe in the positivity. I believe in the law of attraction. I believe what you put out there does come back to you. But I also believe in the process of critical thinking. I know that if I go into a store, let's just say, with the intention of stealing something, there could be a good possibility that I'll be going to jail later that day for stealing. Do you know what I'm saying? So why would I do that? What is the probability of me going to jail for stealing? The probability is great. What is the probability of me sticking around with a person who doesn't care about my well being? What is the probability that things will come out glorious at the end of that? It's not.
So one of the things I'm looking at that precedes either of us, and even some of our parents sometimes, depending on the age of the people watching, is this whole cult of personality aspect. The inception of it precedes us, but it got really strong in our lifetime. It got really strong when Clinton became known for playing the saxophone and wearing sunglasses, and people really loved that, and they kind of elevated him because of that. And then Obama became the first president to make any use of social media. And then Trump came along and just splashed himself all over social media beyond any belief. This was also helped along by certain outlets and then the existence of internet news sites and so on. It became extreme. And because we now live in that age of social media and amplify their own voice, and then they can get together and amplify together. And suddenly it's like there was once a time where we could look at somebody and go, that person's crazy. That person's just crazy by themselves. But now everybody can get together and be crazy together online. They can all form up and amplify their voice and make it louder and louder. And that's one of the problems we're having, is that we have, between the amplification that social media allows, the fact that we are seeing people follow personality more than actual accomplishment. A politician making promises is old hat. Politicians are always making promises. But somehow people have come to believe, no, he really means it. He's going to do it. He had a whole term where he didn't do much of anything. There were some things he did I was like, oh, that's not bad. But then there were other things that's like, what happened to the Great Wall that we were going to get that never appeared? What happened to fixing everything? He said he alone can fix everything. He didn't. And whatever he said, people just bought into it hook, line, and sinker. If he said, oh, it's because of these people, those people are no longer in the picture. This is you. This is entirely you. You are the leader. You are the one that put yourself in this position. Things are still screwed up. It's on your head. He shifted the blame off to somebody else. He made up a little story, did a little song and dance, and people fell for it hook, line, and sinker. Because people are unhappy with the way that their life is, or because they're going through stress and they may not want to take the responsibility of their own problems. So there's no accountability. That's a big issue we have going around these days. People don't take accountability for their own lives. Because we have that going on and people are unhappy and stressed out because they're getting screwed over, but they don't believe that they could have made better decisions. So it's like a bad combination. We are getting screwed over, for sure. But they believe that the people who are screwing them over are the people next to them, or the people that don't look like them. When people are not coming over the border and stealing your jobs, those jobs are being given to those people by the people in power who make all the money. But people don't see that. And then within the Black community and the Hispanic community, all the communities of color, all the communities that are not white, let's just put it that way, people are stressed out, pitted against each other, and not listening to themselves when they talk, not listening to other people when they talk, and just looking to fight somebody, whether it's online or in person. I want to take out my frustrations on somebody. That's it. So there's no paying attention. There's no paying attention to the fact that, hey, you're being lied to. People lie to them every day, and then they eat the lies because the lie is more comforting than the truth. The truth is, we allowed this shit to happen. We allowed ourselves to believe that the failings of our society are based on other people, are based, on decisions made by people who have no power, have as much power as we do. We've been divided and we've been conquered. That's the big issue that's taken place. But on a smaller scale, just talking from within the Black community and what I've seen growing up, folks don't want to work together. They give lip service to the idea, but they don't want to work together. They want to I want to get mine and then get out. I got mine. That's it. That's the mentality. Mine is better than yours. Look how I'm better than you. That's what I've seen. And I'm like, I don't want to mess with that. I keep my distance from that person. We ridicule people for wanting to read. We ridicule people for how they see. So, I mean, in the Black community itself, we're already divided. We divide ourselves as we were taught to do by the people who decided that they didn't have to do it actively. They just have to convince us to do it to ourselves. So we've already got that going on. And then we've got people from outside of our circles facing against us. And what do? We don't unite among ourselves. We don't unite with people who back us up. We just stay fractured all over the place. Everybody's busy hoarding it, holding on to it, and going, mine. And what they have is not worth anything. And in the meantime, we've got this dude sitting in his chair, which tells you, he's actively telling us, oh, I don't like you. I don't give a F about you. I don't care what happens to you. So we've got people saying, we got this dude saying, I don't like you. I don't give a F about you. People ignore all that because he says things they like to hear. He made a big noise about Mexicans. Here's the thing I've seen growing up and deal with the Black community. If someone speaks a language that you don't understand, they must be talking about me. No, they're not. I took the time to learn some Spanish and at least understand it. People are talking about what they're going to eat, what their kids are doing, what time they're going to go to church, all kinds of stuff. They're just talking like everybody does. There are ignorant people who hear something, don't know what they're hearing, and automatically assume, oh, they're making fun of me. And that's because that particular person has an issue with themselves. But rather than face that, it's got to be another person that's causing the problem. So when he gets up on stage and starts saying, these people are a problem, they don't really think of these people as a problem. They're like, yeah, they are a problem. Let's get rid of them. Then we have within the Black community, the whole LGBTQ, the queer community. We have that whole issue that goes on in the Black community. It's just on weirdness because there's a lot of people in that community from within the Black community. But at the same time, there's a lot of people talking smack against that very same community. There's a lot of down low people, realistically. And the ones who make the most noise about it, what he's saying, they'll go along with whatever because it makes them feel better about their standpoint. And in the meantime, they're ignoring all the other obvious things. Big noise that they're being made right now, DEI. The DEI was just another way of saying, get rid of those ends. We need to have us white folks aren't getting good jobs. And the reason we're not getting good jobs is because they're putting these white people who are not like us in the job that we have. And these people can't possibly be that well qualified. Mind you, everything that's happened since that got stripped away, people got fired, the FAA, we've had plane crashes, just happening ridiculous. And the FAA did not have a big block of people of color working in there. It was literally a bunch of white guys. That's it. So they point the finger and they say, oh, that's the problem. Mind you, at this very moment, we have people being appointed positions who have those positions, not because they're the most qualified, not because they're the most well educated, not because they're the most experienced, but because they're good at kissing ass, they are related, or they're just good at kissing ass. That's really what it comes down. And we're supposed to believe that those people are the most qualified when the only reason they're in those positions standing next to him is because they too are white. It's obvious. It's being shoved in our faces like, look, this is what we're doing. They call it a Christian nation, right? It's a beautiful Christian nation. What they really mean is the same thing that those guys in the Middle East say. We want a ethno-state. We want it to be by us, for us, and us alone. And everybody else can either go to jail or get deported. Because if they send people to jail, that's easy free labor. That's one big part of the plan. From my point of view, a jail population is now free labor, especially since we have private prisons. It's not like it's, all state. There's a lot of private prisons, and those people get rented out to carry out labor for cents on the dollar, literally. So we have that going on. Because realistically speaking, when they keep saying that people are coming in and taking their jobs, right? What jobs? Nobody in the hood or in the trailer parks is running to pick tomatoes and oranges in the 100-degree sun. That's not happening. They're not taking those jobs. There are no factory jobs. Those have been shipped over to India. They've been shipped south of the border, down into South America a long time ago. So there's no factory jobs. So what jobs are being stolen? Construction jobs? Let's say facts. It's just simply cheaper. And the people giving the jobs to the migrants, the migrant workers, whether you want to call them illegal or whatever. They're migrant workers. They go where the money is to make the money to send back home to their family or to make a better life here. The people hiring them are the people that you should be mad at. People
Right.
hiring them look just like you and are hiring them over you. You know why they're hiring them over you? Because they are cheaper and they work harder and they don't have to give them all the same benefits that they give you and worry about the time off that you're going to want to take and all the other stuff that you expect because your life is so expensive because that's how we're raised to grow up in this country, is live as lavishly as possible. Like we're supposed to have that, and it's not fair that we can't party all the time or something. I don't know what it is. Whereas we have people who show up and go, hey, I'll work for half the amount of money and do the job twice as fast. People who run the business is going to run with that because it's better for their bottom line and for their business. But people don't see that. They don't see that they're getting
No.
screwed by people in charge. They don't see.
Right. No, they don't see that. They don't, because they don't understand how business works or how business is set up. They don't understand the hierarchy of business, expenses, what that requires. They think that people just have a boatload of money and, they're going out and recruiting people. And I'll tell you now, living out here in Arizona, the way it gets hot out here, the summers, they are unbearable. I cannot stand it. If I have to go out in that sun, literally, I have to wear dark sunglasses and a giant hat so that I don't get a migraine. Think about those construction workers who have to work in that heat. They're building up communities here all over the place. And when they're building a community, they're also building the landscape. They're planting the palm trees, the plants, whatever it is. And we see that out here driving by. And they're also wearing hats and they have their face covered because they know that they're going to be working in that heat in over 100-degree weather. The building doesn't stop because of the sun. If families have made purchases, investments of their house to be built at a certain time, that is not going to stop on the account of the sun, of the weather. It's not going to stop. I see that the same people who are complaining aren't seeing this visually. Are you going to go out and plant and build? Are you going to do it? Because you're complaining about people coming in here and working and paying taxes, and you're thinking, oh, they have to be illegal. Why, though? Why? Go out and do it. I want the same group of people who complain every damn day. I want them to spend one fucking day, just one, in 100-degree weather. Not now, because it's cool now. No, no, no. I want that one person who's complaining to work in over 100-degree weather and see how they feel. See if there will be any type of gratitude for the people who are actually doing it, who are making a sacrifice. And to your other point that you're saying, when you said about them going out and making money and then sending it back to their family, why is that suddenly a problem? Why is that a problem? If they're paying their taxes, why is it a problem that they are taking their savings and putting it somewhere else so that they can retire somewhere else, so that they can live happily somewhere else? Why is that a problem? It was never a problem before. If anybody who works out here, me for example, I'm working. If I wanted to take my money and invest it to buy a house in another country, why is that a problem? Why is that a problem? It should not be a problem, because you know what? That's my fucking money. That's my business. And if that's what I want to do, that is my prerogative and my choice. And the third point you said early on about not loving your politician, or the way people have worshiped this man. And you reminded me of something that Santana Speaks had said This is another content creator. He does all of these different segments. He said you should never love your politician, because he had this guy on. He had a black Trumper, and the guy was complaining. Literally, I'm telling you, I was listening to this shit last night. I couldn't believe what I was listening to. He was upset and felt that the zoos should be privatized because the animals are not coming out and doing their work as they should. The zoo. And Santana was there. He was like, I think I just broke. I think this whole conversation just broke me. I couldn't believe what I was listening to. This is the craziness of this person is so enamored and infatuated with Donald Trump that he just cannot buy anything else. Anything bad. It's the labels. The Democrats versus the Republicans. Well, you Dems, you liberals, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's just a whole, what is that word I'm looking for? The whole back and forth, the banter, the bantering back and forth. And my thing is, when you stop placing labels, maybe you would open your eyes, because you have been conditioned to believe this rhetoric bullshit of that the Democrats are this and the Republicans are this, that the right is this and the liberals are this, and left and blah 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 blah. It's just this whole seesaw. And at some point, you know what happens when you get on a seesaw, right? And you're up on the top and the person decides to get off. What do you think is going to happen? The person is going to slam right the fuck down, ass and all. There's no way to stop it. Those were some fun days, but there's no way to stop it. So, how can we resolve this problem? How can we get people to recognize you are being crazy? You know, the one thing I've learned about narcissism and cult like behavior, or being trapped in a cult, you cannot tell a person you are in a cult, because then they fight back. Well, what are you talking about? I'm not in a cult. How could you say something like this? We're in a group. We believe in these ethics. We believe in what we're saying, and you're wrong. There has to be a way to deprogram people from this type of behavior. So there has to be a way to stop the bantering, stop the pointing fingers, and try and get people to understand with a different argument. I don't know, maybe this is just me like speaking out loud, just trying to figure out how can we begin the process of fixing this, so to speak.
Ooh, that's a tough one. Fixing the problem. Unfortunately, I think we've reached a point where the level of ignorance and choosing sides has gotten so extreme that things would have to reach a collapsing point because people will not. There's a concept, the sunk cost fallacy, basically, where people invest so hard in an idea that they cannot even conceive of being wrong. Because if they do, that means that they screwed up. They were lied to, they lied to themselves, they bought into it hook, line, and sinker. They have to question their intelligence, their integrity, everything about their own judgment. And rather than do that, they'll stick to that line of thought. They'll stick to that train of beliefs. You know, even if it leads to their deaths, they will do that. It's unfortunate, but it's pretty common. I mean, history has shown that to us plenty of times. You know, it's a situation that's just going to have to resolve itself, and it's not going to be pretty. People are going to have to get to the point where there's nothing that can be done, and they're going to find themselves in dire straits. I mean, people just parrot what they hear, at this point. Trump says, I'm going to make America great again. And when you ask somebody who believes in that, and they say that phrase, and they got the hat on and all that stuff, right? Regardless of their skin color, when you ask him, well, how's he going to do that? Because he's a great man. So that's the reason. What what's the plan? So when, people, you gotta ask them, so what's the plan? Is there a plan? He was asked about what's he going to do about he said he's going to get rid of Obamacare and replace it with something so much better. He said on the campaign trail back in the 2016 run, he got in office, nothing happened. He never showed a plan that he had that would replace it and make it better, which is proof positive. At least show us something. He didn't even do that, much less change anything. And because he knows he's not going to, and it's not going to happen, he just threw his tracks. And everybody who watched that happen forgot that it happened. They literally forgot that he's had a chance to make all these changes.
You know what they say, right? And you know what they say? Those who forget are doomed to repeat. I think it may have been you that I was having the conversation with. It was you, because I mentioned in the video, it's painful to look at yourself, to look at your flaws, to look in the mirror and probably not be happy with the reflection that's staring back at you. With technology today, the cosmetic surgeon, that can be fixed. Sure, you want a thinner nose, you want higher cheekbones, you want longer hair, you can go to the salon and buy a wig or get extensions and have bigger lips, whatever. You can always do something about the outside, but the inside is something that a surgeon cannot fix. It requires therapy. It requires journaling. It requires a deep level of acceptance and to be able to live with that and find joy and peace. And I don't see a lot of these people. What I'm seeing now, which is very frightening to see. I'm seeing a lot of people, what they say, crashing out. They are falling apart in ways that is absolutely frightening. I sent you that video of that man. I mean, he just completely lost it on Parker's Live.
Yeah. What the hell? Did you vote Trump?
Yes.
Why so?
To benefit America.
How so?
Because every other country will be worshiping us. America is the only country that matters. That means that our opinion is the only opinion that matters. That's what it means.
And why?
Why? Because we are the most richest country in the world.
Most richest?
We're the richest country.
Okay,
We're the richest
so,
and the most important. That's what it matters.
Okay, so then are you saying that like when we weren't the richest country, then we didn't matter?
We're saying we've always been the richest.
You have not always.
We've only been the most important, and we're the only
Michael, were we the
Our
richest?
opinion matters the most. That's what it means.
Were we the richest 500 years ago?
Yes.
Were
we
we
the richest 500 years ago. We were richest at the beginning. We're the only country that matters.
So 1,000 years ago, were we the only country that mattered?
Yes. Yes.
We didn't exist.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Michael, we didn't exist.
Yes. Yes, we did.
When he was just asking him simple, basic questions. And the man, he was like, like he just freaking lost it. The night before, there was a young lady. She went on Isaiah R. Martin. He does these lives almost every night. And they have this saying, where they're going to cook these Trump supporters. And they do debates with them. Come and debate me. And these are people who are like super intelligent. You know what I mean? Like way beyond my understanding of politics, because I never got into politics. I had no interest whatsoever in politics. Did I vote? Yes, I voted, but I wasn't the kind of person that was invested. Now I am. Now I'm learning through this younger generation, these different policies and how they affect just us everyday people. And to see this girl, apparently she's gone on there before, but my introduction of her was a completely different person. I mean, she was just screaming her head off. And I could tell Isaiah, the look on his face was, are you good?
You good?
No, I'm not good because I'm here and I'm calling the president and he said, Isaiah, what do you want, Isaiah?
This can't be real.
That's what the
What's
fuck
wrong
I'm
with
talking
you?
about.
Are you on something? Like,
No, I'm on fucking thin motherfucking air.
What's going on? Where people on the Discord were like, somebody try and find this girl and do a wellness check on her. When I tell you, she was just screaming her head off. People suspecting that she's living out of her car and she's a Trump supporter. I don't understand. The man does not care about you. What are you getting out of this? Explain to me what you heard, what I heard, what I knew I wasn't going to get from having this man as a president, and what you thought you were going to get from this man as the president, because clearly you won, so to speak. People are like, oh, we won, we won. What did you win? Tell me, what did you win? Let's forget about the eggs. Let's forget about the gas. Let's forget about all those things that he mentioned on the campaign trail. No tax on overtime, because you were not going to get overtime. You can't get taxed on something that you're not going to get. Let's forget about those things. What are they going to get? What are they getting from this? Because again, what I heard and what they heard seems to be two entirely different scenarios. I guess we can go on and break this down and try to cut the pieces of the pie. I'm foreseeing a part 2 in the future of this, because you're right. It has to come to a point where the crash is so hard. I guess part of me feels like the woman in recovery who's been clean for the last 33 and a half years is trying to save and prevent that. And, it goes back to what people have said in the 12-step meetings. You cannot save them. You can only save yourself. Because if you try to save them, they are going to take you with them. And I'm not trying to go. I'm not trying to go with them. No, hells no.
So, to that point, trying to understand what it is that people heard when the people who love him so much, what they hear when he speaks, they hear the things that are bothering them, the things that they don't pay attention to, that they led themselves towards. Like, for instance, that lady you brought up who was on the call yelling and acting, just going nuclear, essentially, to the point where people are, the audience are just like, can somebody find her into a wellness check? Because obviously with the way she's acting, everything that's wrong in her life is getting channeled in that moment. There's a whole lot going on that has nothing to do with that conversation. I've seen that so many times. I've dealt with it directly so many times. It is the thing that people tend to do because they need a target for their frustration. My life is not going good. This man says that it's these people's fault or that he can make it better. What they hear is that if they take his side, their life will improve. They'll find a job. They'll be more successful in their business. They'll have a place that they can live in. The price of gas will go down. The price of the eggs will go down. Everything will be better somehow because they heard the words they wanted to hear coming out of his mouth. This is literally history repeating itself. There's a time way back, what is that, 30s, 40s, where a man stood and told people that these are the problem people and we need to unite against the problem people and make our country great. And people were so desperate, tired, hungry, and stressed out that they grasped at that little bit of a straw. We're seeing it again. It's literally the exact same thing. People are tired, they're stressed out, they're hungry, they don't know how they're going to feed their kids, how they're going to pay those bills, how they're going to maintain a roof over their head. They have no idea what they're going to do. Things are looking overbearingly grim. And anything that makes them feel good for a moment, that gives them a glimmer of hope, they just jump at it, blind. They don't stop to think about it. They just jump at it. I mean, let's face facts. This last election, the messages that were being put out, when it comes down to people's feelings, the Democrats did a shitty job. They did a shitty job of reassuring people that it's going to be tough, but we can, if we stick together, we can get through it. They basic run was, oh, we're not that guy. You got to be better than that. We already went through the whole process of vote for me because I'm not that guy. And I'll come with something different. They didn't. They dropped the ball. Begin with that. But this guy, in the meantime, is standing stage. He's very charismatic. That I will give him. He is charismatic to the people who like that kind of personality. He's gregarious. He's outspoken. He's entertaining. He puts on a big show. That very, I'm a masculine man, man of America. I'm a man of the people. No, he's not a man of the people. He doesn't know what the people even look like. But because people create these parasocial relationships with whoever they see on screen, they automatically assume, oh, I know this person. I love him. He's saying what I want to hear. He's telling it like it is. You know, and they fall for all these tricks because they are tricks. Every politician uses tricks. Every person who's on screen trying to make a way, or better yet, every person who's on screen who's had significant success has used tricks to get there. It's manipulation. But people aren't paying attention to that because they're just stuck in their small bubbles. And in their small bubble, their life is not going well, and they hear something that they like, and they just attach themselves to that. I've heard people say, well, when he was in office before, my life went pretty good. I was making good money, you know, my business was running well. I didn't see a problem. Literally, the key phrase in what they're saying is, my life was good. I was good. Not everybody was good. But they're not paying attention now because they couldn't care less. I was good. So that's all that matters to me. Not their neighbor, not their friend, not their coworker. I was good. And that's the big problem we have going on. Literally, things have become so fractured that everybody's trying to be an island unto themselves. And that's not possible. That's not. Humans aren't designed that way. And that's the problem we have. People are in a very down, bad, desperate state. And they will grasp at any straw. That's what you're seeing. That's what we're all seeing right now. Because I can't think of any logical reason that somebody would look at a person who's supported by every white supremacist group in this country and like smiles with them. Will literally say, oh, they're not bad people. You know, they're patriots. Yeah. We'll see that. Ignore it entirely because they like what he said while he was on stage. You know, that's what got their attention. It's selective hearing, which they practice in their regular life as it is, which is why they're probably in a bad position to begin with. They only look at the things that they like and the things that make them feel good. They're not thinking. So they apply that to everything in their life. They apply that to how they view politics. They apply that to how they view entertainment, how they deal with family and friends and work. It's a very self-centered, narcissistic-like way of living their life. And when things go wrong, it's got to be somebody else's fault.
Exactly that. Exactly that. Well, I think we're going to end it here for now. I think we covered a lot of ground, and I'm looking forward to having more of these conversations. And like I said, I'm working behind the scenes with different people and putting out more content so that everybody has a chance to platform their thoughts and opinions, not only to platform our thoughts and opinions, but to platform actions and to stay informed. And, you know, we're going to come back at some point and revisit and see how we're doing in a couple of months and probably replay a lot of these things that we had discussions now. Mike, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your thoughts and opinions on what is going on. And I hope to have you back again soon.
Anytime. Looking forward to it.
So, with all that being said, I would love to read your comments down below. There will be links from previous shows discussing these different topics that we had. And most importantly, I want people to look at the video that I did on Jim Jones and comparison to Donald Trump and these cult like behaviors and what it got for the People's Temple. It wasn't a very happy ending for about 900 people. So I would say, please definitely look at that video. Thanks again for watching. And as always, remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other. Most importantly, take care of you. Bye, everybody.